And on the issue of selling out, what you said that the ANC or some members of the ANC and the EFF believe that Nelson Mandela sold out. These same members would also sometimes say that the National Party, in excuse of the ANC's policies, were just as corrupt as the ANC currently is. Is that an accurate assessment to say that the National Party were just as corrupt as the ANC?
No, it will not be correct to say they were just as corrupt as the ANC. And I want to emphasize it again. You will get no political party pre-1994 and even post-1994, if I can put it that way, who is as corrupt as the ANC. It is a pandemic. The corruption, and I mean, we're talking of billions of rands here. But I don't think that you will easily get a government in the world where you won't find any corruption. All governments do have an element when it comes to civil servants and corruption. And yes, there was corruption in the Nationalist Party. But we must remember that when they were caught out, they went to jail. And I have some examples. There was Mr. Henny van der Walt. He was the MP that was sentenced in 1988 to 10 years imprisonment because of 15 counts of theft of 800,000 trust money. We had a Leon de Beer, a former Nationalist Party MP, who were jailed in 1989 for 2 years on 70 counts of electoral fraud. And then we had another guy, Pieter de Pontus, also an MP. He was fined 35,000 rand for fraud. But then they had a former minister, Minister Pieter du Plessis. He was a former cabinet minister, received a 9-year jail sentence in 1993 for 17 counts of fraud involving 30 million rand. Now, if I can take that as an example, 9-year jail sentence for 30 million rand, and he went to jail. The fact of the matter is that at this moment, we have no minister who went to jail for any fraud. Let's take our latest issue on the previous Minister for Health, Dr. Mkhize, where it is now quite clear that he personally benefited from companies that were supposed to do some communication work for them. So there you can go to many departments, but the minister at this moment, no one went to jail. So to say it is just as corrupt, or the National Party was just as corrupt as the ANC is, I deny that. It's not true. And the big difference is, in the Nationalist Party, when they were caught with corruption, they went to jail. And I'd very much like to see that happens with the ANC at the moment.
So relatively speaking, the ANC is much more corrupt than the National Party ever were or was. But just to use one example, I recently read a story of Guy Strydom, the former prime minister during apartheid. He used to borrow money from the state to pay his posts that he sent out. And at the end of each month, he paid these few cents back. I can't imagine a president of South Africa or a minister doing that same level of devotion of paying back state money for such a small amount. I mean, yeah, but
as I said, yes, I think it depends how far back you want to go into history. And yes, of course, you will get certain situations like that. But I want to emphasize it. We're not talking about millions here with the ANC. We talk about billions. And I want to say that it is actually common knowledge that people in South Africa, when they started with funds, for instance, with the COVID-19 pandemic, I personally warned and I said, and they've referred to 500 billion package to assist, and I said, and how much of that 500 billion will go to the pockets of individuals? And at this moment, the special investigating units and all other investigating institutions They're talking about at least 40 billion at this moment when it comes to protective clothing or private protective, can I say, procurement for the pandemic. So again, yes, and I say again, I don't think you will get a government or in the history of any, can I say, country, that you will say that this country never had the situation of corruption. But surely in South Africa, we never had the corruption that we have at this moment.
And in classical liberal and libertarian circles, they describe the National Party as a fascist/national socialist government. Is that a true and a fair representation of the National Party, that they were a fascist national socialist government?
No, I don't agree with that. When we talk about certain terms, it also depends. They were a nationalist party, yes. You must remember, and you must always judge history in its time. If you go and look at the history, specifically when it comes to the Afrikaner, they actually lost the war in 1899, 1902, where the British government killed 36,000 women and children in concentration camps because of the scorched earth policy, where farms, stock, everything has been burned down to the ground, women and children put into concentration camps. People forget about that. So take that history in account when you look at, if you talk about nationalism and the nationalist party, they had to pull themselves up again as a nation after that defeat. In 1910, the whole of South Africa became the Union of South Africa under rule of the United Kingdom. And they strived to become a republic. So in 1961, they did become a Republic of South Africa. So I will describe it as a nationalist republic political party, to want to strive and the ideal to become an independent republic, not under UK or English rule. I don't see it as a fascist socialist party. I disagree with that.
And last question, I don't want to spend any more of your valuable time. On the issue of apartheid, if W. de Klerk recently came into quite a lot of trouble because he said that, and I believe this is correct, that he said that apartheid was terrible or wrong, but it was not a crime against humanity. Why is it necessary to bring up this topic? Why is it necessary to have this legal debate about whether apartheid was a crime against humanity or not? Is he trying to restore his legacy?
I think you're quite right. I think it was out of, can I say, out of place as far as that is concerned. I don't see why he said that. But as you said, I think it was a sort of an effort to restore his legacy, because he knows that what is happening in South Africa now is because of him. He was the president at that stage. But I also want to say again, I don't think that topic should really be an issue in South Africa anymore. With great respect, the ANC uses apartheid and uses this argument to justify their own incompetence and inability to be a good government. So it's always because of apartheid. And ironically, even Zuma is on record and Thabo Mbeki is on record where we said that we must stop blaming apartheid for everything that's going wrong in South Africa. Although that's what they said, but they also said, and I mean, Zuma came forward with the notion of everything started when Jan van Riebeeck in 1652 landed in South Africa. So it's contradicting in a certain way. The fact of the matter is that if you look at apartheid, I always say, and I said it previously, that you have to judge history in the context of its time. I mean, in the United States of America, we had the incident of Rosa Parks. For instance, in 1955, the incident in Montgomery and the Alabama bus case, She sat on a seat on a bus which was reserved only for white people. That was in 1955. And I mean, it is actually seen, and it helped initiate the civil rights movement in the United States. So how long are we going to debate apartheid? Are we going to the United States to see what they did about apartheid and everything? And I want to use it again, and I've emphasized it so many times. Let's start fighting for a better future. It's no use. You're not going to change the history. History is history. But what I want to say as far as that is concerned, that the ANC must stop blaming apartheid for everything that's going wrong in South Africa, and it's nothing else than a smokescreen for their own inability and incompetence to be a government. It's as simple as that. So they must realize it doesn't help to do blame shifting. They must take responsibility for the fact that they are a government. And then I also personally want to refer to Cyril Ramaphosa. He's the president of the Republic of South Africa. He must take the responsibility as a president. And a president of a country puts his country first, not his political party.
And to add to that, I believe Julius Malema recently said that the health service was run better during apartheid than it is currently being run. And interestingly, on that note, the Institute of Race Relations released a few years back a poll where they asked people if the ANC approached them and said, we are facing the current problems because of apartheid. Do you believe that statement? And I believe about 90% of people said, that's including black, white Indians, said they don't believe that statement when the ANC says apartheid is responsible for today's problems. So it's optimistic on that note, that people are not buying their message.
You're quite right. And I mean, there are many people, if you talk to them, ironically, they said they wish they can go back to apartheid for whatever it might be. But many people, especially if you go to the roots level of the people, they said, well, we had better circumstances in our townships and everything when we were still under the apartheid regime. But the fact of the matter is that when they vote, the question is still, will they change their vote for other political parties, or will they just stay away? On the subject of apartheid, I always say that we are still too close to apartheid. 26 years in the life of a individual or a person is quite a couple of years, but in the growing and, can I say, in the history of a nation, it's not very long. So what the ANC really do is when it comes to election, and we have a system, they call it HOP houses, where the government give people houses, millions of them. And the only thing they do is they say, well, we're going to take your home away and take it back and give it to someone else. You must remember in South Africa, at this moment, we have more than 18 million people who receive some or other form of social grant. They go to the people and say, well, if you don't vote for the ANC, we're going to take away your social grant. And that's actually nothing else than intimidation of the voters. And we have to overcome that so that the mass electorate can understand that they will not take away your social grant. They will not take away your house. You can vote for another party. But as I said, that's a challenge for all opposition political parties in South Africa. And I do believe in the end, we will win that battle.
And just for our viewers, neither I nor Dr. Groenewald or the Freedom Front Plus is in favor of going back to apartheid. We're just illustrating that nothing is ever black or white. But thank you, Doctor. This has been a fascinating, interesting conversation. I want to give you one last opportunity to add, plug, or say anything that you want to.
Ronald, thank you again from my side. Thank you for this opportunity. I want to say that the people of the world must understand. I am an Afrikaner. I am proud who I am, and I do not believe in apartheid. I do believe in justice, and I am here in South Africa to stay. I always use the example to say, there are people to say that we must just stand back and South Africa will go down the drain. My answer to them is, no. If you're a big tree in a wood and the wood is on fire, don't think that you're not going to burn. Because you're a big tree, maybe you're going to burn more than the other bushes in the wood. Therefore, we are here. We are going to ensure that we create a future for our children. And I, as leader of the Freedom Front Plus, as long as I will be able to do that, I will vigorously ensure that there's justice for all the minorities also for the future.
Well, thank you, Doctor. A very powerful symbolic message there. And to our viewers, if you've made it this far, please consider liking this video, sharing it as widely as possible, and subscribing to our channel. My name is Donald, and this has been WorldView.